Two busy friends work together but keep their romance a secret. If you dig my recaps, don't forget to subscribe and smash that notification bell. A man suggests that a woman secretly arrange a date with him. The next day, inside a building, a woman asks her friend if she watched a special morning program about office romances. In their company, a similar case involves Tanaka from sales and Yoshioka from HR because they are definitely dating. Another friend regrets that they work on different floors and don't have much chance to interact, noting that they've even brought back the same travel souvenirs twice. Nearby, a 28-year-old man named Masuhu Teiichi is quietly working in his corner until Shizuno Hayakawa, aged 32, suddenly appears and asks what he thinks about this office romance. Honestly, he has no opinion on it. Meanwhile, the two gossipers continue to comment that the two newcomers seem to have been dating for a month. Pretending to be oblivious, Tadashi says that the couple shouldn't be doing that. In front of him, Aria Morizono, aged 26, asks why the couple even comes to work if they go out of their way just to get leave. The gossipers add that for the couple, the thrill of possibly being discovered is not a deterrent but rather fuel for their excitement. Hearing this, Aria concludes that these two seem to be just putting on a show, making Tadashi sweat with these words. Eventually, Shizuno returns to work while another woman, Yu Mitsuya, also 28, appears to have arrived with a certain charm. However, she actually calls Tadashi over to complain that her receipts have been rejected again. Tadashi responds that he can't do anything about it since the assistant director is very strict about these things. Angry, Mitsuya accuses the accounting staff of being too snobbish, but Tadashi doesn't want to deal with her complaints and hands back the receipt to his coworker. As she leaves, she mockingly calls Tadashi a paper pusher, a jab at him becoming a robot for the company. This remark genuinely upsets him, and even Aria acknowledges that Mitsuya is heartless. Considering that they both started at the company at the same time, Shizuno thinks that Tadashi and the fiery redhead could try to get along a bit better. Later, when Tadashi gets home, Mitsuya apologizes for what she said to him at work. In truth, she was just pretending to avoid raising suspicions. With a headache, Tadashi confesses that he thought he might be fired after yesterday's incident, but it was exactly because of what happened that she didn't know how to act. To sum up, they have been dating since yesterday. Takeshi asks if this is really what's happening, and Mitsuya thinks it's partly why she came to his house. Awkwardly, he agrees. Despite their reputation for fighting like cats and dogs at work, the truth is they have feelings for each other. After some time of near misses, they finally decided to go out and been seeing each other since yesterday. After getting a beer for her, Tadashi asks, just to be clear, if she wants to keep their relationship a secret, even from their closest colleagues. When Yu agrees, he concedes but doesn't think it's right for them to mistreat each other in front of others while at work. Yu doesn't think it's possible for them to interact normally, which leads Tadashi to dread being treated like he was earlier that day. However, the real issue is that she struggles to hide her feelings and occasionally needs to take drastic measures to keep things secret. Therefore, the first rule she emphasizes is that they cannot, under any circumstances, make eye contact in the corridors. Secondly, when meeting at night, they should get off 3 stations away as they did today. Thirdly, on their days off, they need to meet at each other's homes, never on the street. Although Tadashi finds her adorable when she says these things, he asserts that he would love for them to go out somewhere occasionally. However, Mitsuya wants to keep tight control, especially since Tadashi slipped up today and got flustered when she approached him earlier. Alone with his thoughts, Tadashi is frustrated because it's not like he wants to be overly affectionate with her at work. Moreover, he recalls the gossipers saying that staying hidden is more fuel for the couple's relationship than a problem, and Aria's comment that it's all just an act for them. In truth, Tadashi doesn't view this situation as a personal hobby, he just wants to feel a bit more like he's really dating this woman. Perhaps he's asking for too much. Then Mitsuya suggests they go out together but wearing masks. Once again, Takeshi is charmed by her words, and Mitsuya apologizes for placing so many limits on their relationship because she's heard that everyone knowing could affect work in many ways and start rumors about them. As Tadashi also doesn't want that, the best course of action is to keep the relationship secret. Regarding this, he agrees that he doesn't want to see the girl become the subject of crude fantasies at work. According to Yui, since they started this relationship, she wants to value it. She honestly thinks it would be embarrassing for everyone if they found out the two were dating. Hearing this, Tadashi moves closer to the girl and confesses that this is what has been making his heart race. Several days later, not just in the accounting department but across the entire company, chaos reigns due to the busy season. At one point, Mitsuya takes the opportunity when a colleague needs someone to take a paper to accounting, so she volunteers to do this favor for the guy. After all, this is the perfect chance to see Tadashi. However, 2 friends approach and tell her she can't go there because she's always saying rude things in that department, so it's better to decide who will go with rock, paper, scissors. In the end, because of this, and also because the company is very busy, it has been a week since Mitsuya has been able to see her man. Speaking of which, the employee is relieved to have finished his work. Soon after, he receives a message from Mitsuya telling him she'll head home before their meetup later today. When Tadashi leaves work, he tries to contact her in every way possible, but she's asleep and doesn't respond. The next day, back at the company, Hayakawa asks if Tadashi has all the documents, and he confirms that he does. Reflecting on his workload during this peak season, Tadashi notes that after their meeting, he'll be back to staring endlessly at numbers on the screen, which is incredibly draining. He couldn't agree more, especially since the receipts he's received don't add up, meaning only God knows when he'll be able to leave work today. Suddenly, as the elevator doors open, the poor man comes face to face with his beloved. Pretending not to know him, she steps in and asks someone to press the button for the first floor for her. Trying to keep his composure, Tadashi thinks about how he couldn't reach her yesterday. Hours after she'd gone to sleep, the woman had apologized for dozing off, yet they hadn't even seen each other. For that reason, he considers that maybe she's as cold as a cucumber. Amidst this, Hayakawa apologizes to his colleague because apparently Mitsuya had helped the assistant director with some paperwork the other day. Mitsuya replies it's no problem and asks if everything went well there, and the other responds that the director really appreciated the organization. By the way, Hayakawa praises Mitsuya highly and asks if Tadashi doesn't also think she's great. Being drawn into the conversation, he hesitates for a moment, then states that Yui is the epitome of excellence in their group. Although flattered by the compliment, Mitsuya pretends he's being sarcastic. Seeing her shyness, Tadashi comments that the director should have asked the accounting department instead, while Hayakawa agrees, noting the planning department has been too busy, so it would be okay if Mitsuya refused to help next time. Meanwhile, Tadashi notices the girl's ear is redder than a tomato, fearing someone might notice something off. Indeed, Hayakawa calls out their names, but it's to say that they both have the potential to get along well instead of always putting themselves down. Mitsuya mispronounces Tadashi's name, making him even more worried that their act is becoming too obvious. At that moment, the elevator gets very crowded and Mitsuya, now somewhat isolated with her boyfriend, comments that Hayakawa is almost onto their secret. Takeshi tries to say it was Mitsuya who acted strange, but soon they realize they shouldn't interact like that and drop the subject. Yet when their hands accidentally touch, they take the moment to hold hands while at the back. That night, talking on the phone, they celebrate that the company's peak season is over. After dating for a month, Mitsuya thinks they should call each other by their first names when alone. Takeshi argues that he's gotten used to Mitsuya, but the woman insists on being called Yui, which embarrasses the man, but deep down, it's exactly what he wanted. Later, on the subway, he tells her that he's left his house for the date they'll have. Arriving a bit late, he is delighted to see that Yui has dressed up quite a bit for their date. According to her, this is a special date because they've been waiting a long time for it. Even without knowing exactly how to do so, the man compliments the woman's beauty, who also has no idea how to receive a compliment. As usual, they both act chaotically, even while trying to sound as natural as possible. Regardless, Tadashi wants to know which movie they'll see, and the girl says whatever they decided on the phone is fine. Banyu calls him by his last name, Tadashi, and they have a discussion about the conversation they just had about this because she simply can't manage to call him by his first name. Watching how foolishly they're acting, Tadashi begins to think they're like a high school couple. During the movie, he reflects that maybe this won't work out because they called each other by their last names since they met 6 years ago. Throughout all that time, nothing particularly special happened, when all Tadashi wanted was for something special to occur between him and Mitsuya. In the midst of these reflections, the film shifts to a scary scene and Yu grabs his hand and squeezes tightly. Leaving the theater, the couple decides what to eat until a man named Sia appears and greets Yu enthusiastically. She responds in kind as they haven't seen each other in a long time. At the same time, Tadashi turns away to avoid being recognized. Saya invites the woman to grab a bite and celebrate their serendipitous meeting, but upon noticing Tadashi was there too, he also greets his colleague. Tadashi reflects that Saya was one of the guys who trained him at the start of the company, as well as being Mitsuya's senior in college and holding a special place in her heart. Thus, the three of them go to eat together. Saya praises that Mitsuya was placed in charge of planning for the new product competition, and Tadashi can't help but feel jealous. Soon, he confesses he's surprised to see an old colleague, and he explains he's on a business trip, but decided to catch a movie out of boredom. Fearing the man might have seen something, Tadashi and Mitsuya lie that they also bumped into each other by chance. For a moment, Tadashi thinks it wouldn't be a problem for this guy to find out since he's from a different branch of the company. However, Yu pinches the man and makes it clear she doesn't want to be exposed. With that, he keeps up the pretense that they weren't on a date. Sometime later, Sia says goodbye and the couple celebrates having maintained the lie. At that moment, Yu thanks Masubu for everything, using his first name. According to her, it took a while, but she finally managed. The man complains that she had no problem calling Saya by his first name, and she explains that it's because there were 3 other Suzukis in college besides him. Either way, Masubu was just teasing and invites the woman to continue their date at his place. The next morning, as soon as he wakes up, he calls her by her first name, leaving the girl embarrassed. On his way to work, he ends up running into Area Morizono on the subway. However, Yu was sharp and already seen the woman, so she decided to take the next car. Over the days, the couple continued the same scheme, pretending to barely know each other while meeting secretly.